Welcome to the Town Crier News, hosted by myself and Kevin Rudden, and today's guest is Siobhan from the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So you came to Milford and Mac in January, correct?
I did, and it's been very exciting since I started January 2nd.
Well, what kind of things have you done since you've been here? Changes or what have you done?
We've been very active in getting to talk to different people in the communities. I have also brought in different classes for our members to take, such as a networking class, and really trying to focus on what our business people are looking for in order to really grow and develop the area and make it a partnership between us and the community as well as the business community.
I know one of the knocks I used to hear about the Chamber was, well, it's a bunch of people, they get together once a month at a restaurant or a bar and they all have a little party, and we never see them the rest of the year.
Right. That's been something that I was hit with probably my second day on the job.
I remember that.
And I think I handled it quite nicely, and I would totally disagree. I would ask those people to come to one of our meetings and really see what goes on. Networking face-to-face is what building relationships and partnerships are about, and to reach out to the people that we can help. And that's what I see our role as.
I personally think networking is the way most people find their jobs today. It's the way they get business, so you're not going to get a disagreement out of me.
Now, recently you hear a lot of people saying that Chamber of Commerces are going away because it's just not the nature of business, there's no need for it, and I don't believe that to be the case. So tell me why you agree with me.
I think,
disagree.
oh, I agree with you
Okay.
for the first time in a while.
Well, that's good.
Yes. So what I feel is we're really working on giving value to our members as to what we can do. This past week I met with 3 different people that are opening new businesses, and I'm really working as a consultant to help them and to figure out how we can promote them as well as they can participate with us. And a lot of times startup companies or people that are looking to try something different don't always think that they can come to the Chamber and use those resources that we have. We have great SBA people. We just started dealing with SCORE, retired executives, and they're willing to come in and meet with our people. And I'm in the process of building that relationship, so that'll be something else that our members, could take advantage of.
You're dealing mostly with small businesses. You said there are new ones. What is the state of the business economy in the Milford area right now?
I think we're at an even keel. I don't think we've totally come back. I see interest in the area. You have to also remember that we service 10 towns.
Right.
So we're the Milford Area Chamber. So I think some people forget that word area, and we do reach out to many areas. 2 weeks ago, I also met with the town manager from Hopedale. I'm reaching out to all the towns. Back in March, we had a joint meeting here in Milford with all the town managers that we serve. And I said to them, I will be reaching out to you, and I'm starting to go now to see what we can do to help them and what they can do to help us, because there is a new startup business.
Right.
I'd like to go over there and say, here, this is who we are, no hard press sales, but what can we do to help, or would you like to come to some of our events for, see what you can get out of it, see what you can connect with. You might need a bookkeeper, and if she's there or he's there, what a great connection, and that's what our service should be doing for our people in the area.
If you were going to profile a typical member of the Chamber, what would it be like? What would be the?
I would say 2 or less employees, very small, very hands-on, kind of the jack of all trades, kind of like me, because I also ran my own business, so I know what it's like to have to do everything and jump in and take control, which is exactly what we do at the Chamber. something needs to get done, who cares what is going on? You just drop everything and get that job done at that particular time. And that's how I see the role here, that I really feel it's small business reaching out, and that's what we're looking for.
So you really have most of the members are 2 employees or less?
Yep, they are.
That's not the image I would have.
80%. I mean, we do have some of our large companies, and you know, we have the banks, we have Waters, we have Baxter. You know, we do have some of the larger companies that do help us tremendously, but the majority of our people are smaller companies that are running their own business, trying to figure out how to wear all the hats and get the job done.
How many members are in the chamber right now?
About 422.
Is membership growing or shrinking, or?
Right now, I would say it's holding its own. I don't have hardcore numbers because of constant turnover, you know, but I would say we're holding our own.
Now, these last couple of years have been very difficult for any business organizations, because a lot of businesses have been going away.
Right.
So you bring one in and 2 go away, so it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back,
Right.
which is beginning to stabilize now, I think.
Right, and what happens with us is, let's say that you've been a member for 3 years. Well, all of a sudden, you know, your renewal is up. Well, we reach out. Well, you're no longer there. So we haven't seen you very active, but I'm making a phone call to those people or trying to reach out, and we find that they're not in business anymore.
Right.
So those, it's very hard. At 10 o'clock in the morning, you know, you could have 5 very active and new people, but at 6 o'clock in the evening, you're going to lose 5 too. So it is very hard to say a core number.
Oh, I don't think most people realize it usually takes anywhere from 3 to 5 years for a business to really establish itself. And a lot of them fail before that time because they weren't ready for that, or they just, you know, the traffic isn't there, or whatever the cause.
Right, and that's why we have SBA that comes in twice a month at no charge. We'll meet with our people, even if they're startup or if they've been existing. And as I said previously, we have SCORE that's going to be coming into our office, and we'll set up times and appointments for people really to get some one-on-one good counseling from people that have been in their business, which is a great aspect.
Now you have somebody there, a small business advisor. Who is that comes in?
That's John Rainey.
John Rainey, and he comes in and provides a service of counseling for small businesses.
Right. Yeah.
He's very good.
He's excellent. John is superb. He has a ton of knowledge. He works out of our office, but he also works out of other chamber offices, and he is associated. He's a professor at Clark University.
Right, and he had his business degree, his MBA students do a project with our chamber a couple years ago, I think it was.
He did.
Yeah.
And I have skimmed over that. There are some suggestions in there that I'm going to be
There's some good ones.
acting on. We're in the middle right now of trying to change our website, and I hope within the next month that it will have its all new look, easy to find things. We're working on that. It's taken us a little bit longer than I had anticipated, but you know, Laura O'Callahan is extremely good. She's the right-hand person in that office, and she knows everybody and how things work, and she has helped me tremendously settle into this position.
Laura's very good. Very
she
good.
is.
Now you wear another hat in life. You're a selectman in your town. So you understand the political realities of small towns. Using your 2 hats, I mean, what can, I don't want to limit to Milford, but what can the towns within the greater Milford area Chamber of Commerce do to attract small business? What can the government do to help?
Well, there's always government funding, which is always tough to handle. There's always different grants that are out there. I think the government has to step up and recognize that small business is a huge role in the area of the towns that we serve. And you know, we are so close to 495. It is such a plus. And I always say there's life outside of Boston or Wellesley. This area has tons to offer, and it's a great commuting aspect. And we have some very impressive companies. Like I said earlier, we have Baxter, we have Waters, those, you know, EMC, we have tons of companies around us, and I think we all have to get together and promote the area. I met with the Metro West entertainment person this week too, and we're going to try and do some things as well jointly. So it's not just the chamber. I'm reaching out to other organizations that I feel can really benefit the entire area.
I mean, nothing bothers me more than to drive through a small downtown area and see vacant storefronts, or go out to one of the towns surrounding Milford and knowing they have commercial property that sat vacant for years, and saying there's got to be a way to help these towns, you know, redevelop a main street or get something constructive on those vacant lots.
Have you connected with the economic committees in each town? Each town has a committee like that.
Right, not each town. I've attended a few in Milford and a couple of those meetings. I have not been able to reach out to the other ones. Now that I'm finally settling in, I do think that the next 6 months till the end of the year, plus going forward, that will happen. After I meet with each town manager, that would be another step that I would look at getting involved in and find out what's going on.
And you're going to ask the question on how can we help getting small businesses. I mean, one of the things that I'm very sensitive to is that 75% of the growth in the United States in the economy comes from small businesses. And small businesses are defined as under 25 employees.
Right.
So, you know, that happens to be where the tax dollars, everybody gets tax dollars from, is the small businesses.
Yeah, and we have to be able to concentrate to help those people, to lift them up and guide them in whatever direction that we can. And I see this as building true partnership. I don't see it as the chamber just sitting up on a building in a third floor behind doors. I feel like getting out, getting connected, and really forming partnerships is how we can start to impact.
Have you ever thought about changing locations?
I have. I have been out driving around a lot of different areas. We have to wait and really make sure the move is the right move. I have no particular spot in mind at this point, but when we service 10 towns, I feel that we need to be someplace where we're seen. It can be visible on the first floor, and even if people aren't coming in a lot, they see you there. So you get representation just by having your name on the first ground level.
Yeah, I've just always wondered about that, because accessing the chamber office, it's, you know, upstairs in the building, there's not a lot of signage, so you have to call or get directions. It's not a walk-in kind of facility.
Right. It's not easy to find it all, and when I first walked in there, it made no sense to me. So
most chambers are located in a walk-in area where people see visibility and you can walk in.
Right, and I have a very supportive board that I'm working with, and they do agree. It's all in the timing, and you know, getting my hands wrapped around this position has been very busy for the first 7 months. And now that we're getting there, now we can get into the next part, and that is something that we are looking at.
Okay, well, Siobhan, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the time, and I look forward to keeping everybody posted on what's going on with the chamber.
Yeah, we'll have you back next year.
All right, thank you.
Hi, our guest is Building Commissioner John Erickson. John, how you doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Al.
So, John, recently you gave the selectmen an update on building permit growth and things in the town. So, after a couple of years of recession, is commercial and residential growth resuming in Milford?
Yeah, all indications point that way. The number of permits in the past 2 years, 3 years, 2.5 years, 3 calendar years, I guess, have been up dramatically from the 2 or 3 year period before that. Looking at the numbers recently, I'm going to put together probably a more comprehensive report, but beginning around 2012, the numbers are up by about 50% from 2008.
Wow.
What's the biggest type of development we're seeing? Commercial, residential?
Small commercial projects, meaning renovations, remodels, even of a large building, but not necessarily new development.
Like the Sky Buffet was the old docks.
The Sky Buffet. Waters Corp has done extensive interior renovations, fit outs, replaced heating systems, all furnishings, floor coverings, wall coverings. They've got probably a 5-year plan or 3-year plan to probably spend $15 to $20 million in renovations, upfits.
And then of course there's the hospital expansion.
Yeah, that right now is far and away our biggest commercial project.
Okay, and that's going to take at least another year to finish.
Just about a year. I think their projection is the end of August of 15.
Okay, you also have two big municipal projects starting. I mean, the bids are out for both the renovating the old armory, now the youth center, and pretty soon we should be seeing the bids going out for the new multi-million-dollar Woodland Elementary School.
Yeah, naturally, Woodland will be probably the biggest financial project that's been undertaken in the town in history, and the youth center is, you know, a nice, maybe $5 million renovation project. So those are both, you know, one substantial and one's, you know, extremely substantial, I guess.
Is there enough of you to go around?
We're always stretched thin, but you know, we manage to get things done.
I was just going to say, those are a lot of projects that are going to require a lot of inspection time.
Yeah, they do. They do. And of course, there's probably the bulk of the inspections, or the majority, I guess I would say, is, you know, the small projects. Every day there's roofing, sidings, windows, decks, porches, small commercial project. You know, every day we're doing a couple of inspections for each of these types of.
Just for everybody's edification, when do I have to get a building permit?
You have to get a building permit for basically any construction unless it would be considered ordinary repairs. Ordinary repairs is you're changing the trim around your front door, you're changing a couple of floorboards on your deck, or a couple pieces of siding that were damaged, something like that. Anything else that's constructed or reconstructed needs or demolished needs a building permit.
Okay. So if I was going to, say, paint my house, but there was a lot of trim that needed to be replaced, just replaced because it was worn out or dry rot or whatever, that wouldn't require a building permit, would it?
That would not, no.
Okay.
Is residential growth having a comeback? I know it sort of, you know, went totally flat during the recession.
Yeah, new residential construction pretty much flatlined in 2008, 2009. I think one year there were 12. 2008 probably had 12 building permits for new construction, whether it was a condo or one or two family house. 2009 had 8, or I might have the numbers reversed. By comparison, last year there were 66.
Well, it looks like, you know, the Walden Woods development is going great guns. I see they keep coming in for sewer connection permits, so I assume they're building out the development.
Yeah, Walden Woods, from what I've heard, is, I mean, from what I've seen from permits, there's been an incredible number of units sold in the past year. I don't know how many they have left, but they're definitely on the downswing of the project. If I had to guess, 30 units left out of 165.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, they were hanging on by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
How about any other major developments starting?
Well, along with Walden Woods selling very, very well, Zane Ridge has sold very well in the last year or so. I don't know if they have any units available still. So those have been, you know, the most active developments. Really, the only developments there's been, you know, small projects, a house here, a house there. But nothing, they're the only two substantial ones that have been worked on in the last few years.
But you have a couple of permitted subdivisions that haven't been started yet.
Yes, there's a few that come to mind. There's the project on Beaver Street, Beaver Commons,
Right.
Which is, from what I hear, is ready to go later this year.
The
or
road is in.
ready to continue.
Yeah, the base of the road is in, I noticed, so that
And
looks
then,
ready to go. That's about, what, 30, 40 units?
88, if memory serves right.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they have, what, 8 done to date. You know,
Right.
they revised their plans, I guess, to better suit the market. And right down the street, there's Casey Drive Extension, which could be ready to go this year.
That's the same builder.
Same builder. Yep, different type of development.
Right.
Some single family, some planned residential.
You've got, if I pronounce it right, Sanula crossing off of Fisk Mill Road, connecting
Yeah.
to Field Pond Road. That's still going through the, I guess, final state environmental permits, but that's 30-something houses also.
Yeah, 35, give or take, is what I've heard of it.
Right.
And I want to say there's one more. What am I missing?
I can't think of it.
It'll come to mind later.
What are the biggest problems you face?
Biggest problems we face? In terms of building, we don't face any problems. Our biggest problem in my department is zoning, naturally, which is an endless set of problems.
Zoning, and what are the problems in zoning?
Oh, zoning ranges from anything unregistered vehicles, nuisance bylaw violations, work without permits. Well, that's building and zoning, but
So you enforce the nuisance bylaw?
I enforce the nuisance bylaw, yes.
But you also have part of the task force with the Board of Health, Police, and Fire. You go around looking at, for want of a better term, problem properties.
Oh, we go looking for them, but they seem to find
find
us
you, yeah.
as often as we find them.
The neighbor calls you and says,
The neighbors call up, and the more sets of eyes, the easier it is. It's we don't want to waste our time trying to find them. It's not. I don't want to say waste our time, but you know what I mean.
Right.
It's
right.
If you have a problem, give us a call and we'll take a look at it. We had 2 calls yesterday, and both were valid complaints. So, one I've driven by, I've just never noticed it. It was, it's a house setback off of Route 16. You're driving by at 50 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour, and you don't notice it. The guy living next door, or across the street, he's looking at it every day.
Every day. Right, right. Most people don't know what the nuisance law is. It's a state regulation.
No, it's actually it's a town zoning bylaw.
Okay, well, there is a state nuisance bylaw also,
He's a Board of Health member, so.
which allows you to.
Yes, under the Board of Health, and that was always our tool as a task force
Right.
to
Utilize that one.
utilize that. And this one, and I know it has a bunch of similar provisions. It just gives jurisdiction to the building department.
Okay, well, the zoning bylaw, the nuisance bylaw, any town official, police, fire can enforce it too, but it's the interesting part about it, it allows you to violate, so it's a violation if you as a neighbor can't enjoy your property, which means noise or smell or whatever. If you can't enjoy your property because of a nuisance, then you can enforce it. It's kind of an interesting, open-ended kind of thing, law.
Well, I have to admit, I didn't realize that anyone could enforce it. I thought it was under the jurisdiction of the Board of Health.
No, the
but
law allows any member, police department, fire department to enforce that law.
John, a couple of years ago, back when you were the local inspector, before you became building commissioner, one of the biggest issues in town was the so-called illegal apartments where, people were just partitioning off, excuse me, partitioning off rooms, and all of a sudden, a 1-bedroom apartment suddenly became 3. Has that sort of died down with the recession? I know the town went really after these things, but the recession sort of crimped the economy, which led to a lot of less immigration issues, maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly the occupancy bylaw of 2007
Right.
Led to every rental unit being inspected, which unveiled a number of illegal units. Since then, we've pretty much caught up on our periodic inspections through the building department, which requires every multifamily building to be inspected at a maximum interval of 5 years. So we've gotten into the majority of properties in town, and we're still getting into the ones that we haven't had an opportunity to do so. And that's proving that the illegal units has, if not gone away, it's just about there.
Pretty much a dead issue.
And pretty much a dead issue, but I think to your point that the market for them is gone. The workers that were here that were renting these units or overcrowding them, there just hasn't been in the last 5 to 7 years the employment opportunity.
Right.
And they've moved on to other communities.
I don't know where they've gone.
It's interesting. But that used to be a big problem, but now it's fairly resolved, which is a good thing.
Yes.
A very good thing.
Right, and so a lot of the action taken by the town officials with the various new bylaws really helped clean up the areas, correct?
Certainly, we've seen a lot of positive results.
Okay.
But we're not done. It's still part of our everyday activity.
I was going to say, what are the normal types of complaint your office gets every day?
You name it, we get it.
That's good. I like it.
We get everything from barking dogs to, my neighbor's properties draining on my property, unregistered vehicles,
Large tow trucks in a residential zone.
large tow trucks in a residential zone, unregistered vehicles. Work without permits is a fairly common one. I've had 2 within the last week, both in the same area. One was a chimney being torn down, one was a set of front steps being replaced. Pretty minor work, but it requires a permit, and it's the middle of summer and it's out in the open, so people are
So
noticing
you
it.
get barking dog complaints.
We do.
That's interesting, because usually that should go to the Board of Selectmen's office.
Well, it actually, there's a noise bylaw that would prohibit it if it was, offensive enough. But this was a case with 4 dogs, which is not allowed in the town of Milford.
You're only allowed up to 3 dogs.
You're allowed up to 3 dogs.
Unless you have a kennel license.
Which is the definition, which is the definition of residential animal in the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
And to have more than 3, you have to get a special permit from the zoning board of appeals.
Which was issued in that case.
Which was issued in this case, and it's been issued in the past. We had one with a large number of cats in a property, so they weren't a nuisance to anybody's standards, but there were 9 cats there, and that was the formality that they had to get a special permit.
Now, the town grants all these permits. The zoning board grants special permits and variances. The
Right.
planning board also does site plan reviews with conditions and their own special permits. How do you monitor all this stuff?
Well, it depends on what we're monitoring. The site plan, in theory, once it's installed to specifications, shouldn't change. So there shouldn't be any recurring, enforcement or inspections on a site plan like the Sky Buffet, which
Right.
you just
But I'm
brought up.
talking about things where, let's go back to the barking dog for a minute. The zoning board granted the special permit for years so they could, if there were continuing problems, they can decline to reissue it in the future. How do you track when the year is up? What do you use to make
The
sure that-
tracking's easy. We have, we got new department management software in it was approved in the fall 2011 town meeting, and it was installed in January of 2012. We now have a tracking system to let us know when each of these permits expires.
And you go back out and check them?
And we do go back out.
Flag set, and you get it.
And, well, it's only been in place for close to 3 years now. Most of the permits that we're tracking expire in 3 years. This is the
Right.
supplemental apartment permits, for example.
Well, that's an excellent one that actually came up in discussion by the zoning board, was who is tracking that every 3-year renewal?
Yeah, it did come up, and until we had this software, we didn't really have an effective method of tracking it. I mean, make Post-it notes, put it on a whiteboard, file it away, and hope you remember.
And now
but-
it just pops up automatically,
And now-
hey,
now it comes
so-and-so
up.
is going to need renewal in 6 months, and
Yes.
what, a letter goes out and says you need to renew your permit?
Yes.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, it's been a great tool for us.
Now, this is the iPads you guys all carry to your inspections, right?
No, this is the Municity software that's on our server.
Okay.
Um,
But you have all the building plans and permit information now you carry with you to construction sites?
We don't actually. Just 2 of us use our own iPads, and it logs into the server.
Oh, okay.
And we can view the plans that way. There is a potential to get mobile applications this year for our software, and that's something we're going to look into. Probably once the GIS study is, or either in conjunction with it or when that's concluded, because it's a relatively small expense if we are fortunate enough to do it, to have that mobile capability. And a good application for that is a site plan. We get a complaint, we go out to any business, and whether it's a handicap issue, we can see the plans that are on file instead of driving back to the office, picking them up, taking them out there in paper, or hoping that we remember what we just viewed in the office, because we don't want to get it wet in a rainstorm.
Super.
So you've really brought more technology to the office.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. John, we're out of time. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for
Thanks.
having me.
Okay, thanks.